A very pleasant good morning to everyone. What an exciting moment as we're gathered here today to officially launch the SLDB Act to Adapt School Competition and Act to Adapt app. My name is Angela Burnett. I'm the Climate Change Coordinator for the St. Lucia Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project, and I will be your chairlady for today. The SLDB Act to Adapt School Competition challenges our secondary school students to conduct an assessment to predict the likely impact from a Category 5 hurricane on their home. We further challenge students to then develop adaptation proposals to make their home more resilient to this hurricane scenario. The winner of the competition will actually receive a substantive grant from the SLDB Climate Adaptation Financing Facility to go out and implement their adaptation project. So we're very excited to bring this competition to you today. I want to stress that throughout this program, you'll see the theme that we're doing more than just launching another competition today. We're doing more than just launching another app. We're really launching what we hope will be a lifelong journey for students, increasing the resilience of their current and future homes to climate change impacts, including stronger hurricanes. So I want to invite you, the virtual audience, to sit back, relax, as we take you through a very exciting, interactive, dynamic, and multimedia program this morning as we launch the SLDB Act to Adapt School Competition. I would first like to welcome Ms. Lionel, who's an economist with the Economic Planning and National Development Unit, to bring us opening remarks on behalf of the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project. Ms. Lionel.
Thank you, Ms. Burnett. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Imagine if St. Lucia was hit by a Category 5 hurricane. Is St. Lucia ready? Are you ready? How would your home be impacted? What could you do today to reduce the expected impact to your home? These are the practical scenarios and questions that we speak of when we talk about adapting to climate change. Climate change is increasing the intensity of hurricanes in our region, as well as the frequency and intensity of floods and droughts. The Category 5 hurricane scenario has now become a recurring Caribbean reality. The 2016 to 2019 hurricane seasons all recorded a Category 5, the longest streak on record. In this stretch, 3 Category 5 hurricanes, Irma, Maria, Dorian, directly hit and devastated 9 Caribbean countries, representing a third of our region. These unprecedented hurricanes brought with them unprecedented impacts. It is therefore imperative that as a region we adapt by making our homes more resilient to the multiple hazards associated with a hurricane: strong winds, floods, and the potential for water shortages in the aftermath. St. Lucia has been fortunate as we have not experienced a major hurricane since Hurricane Allen in 1980. This means, however, that there are now 2 generations of St. Lucians, including our current school students, who do not have the practical experience and understanding of the destruction these types of events can bring. The Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project, DVRP, implemented by the Department of Economic Development, Transport, and Civil Aviation, has been in the business of building national resilience to climate change since its launch in 2014. Like all projects, the DVRP will one day come to an end. However, the critical work of climate change adaptation must continue. Building resilience to climate change impacts is a challenge that belongs not only to government, but one that must be embraced by every individual, household, community, business, and sector. Therefore, the DVRP could not be more excited about partnering with the SLDB through its Climate Adaptation Financing Facility, a component of the DVRP, to conceive, develop, and now launch the SLDB Act to Adapt School Competition, which brings the challenge of adaptation to life. The SLDB Act to Adapt School Competition challenges all secondary school students to assess the potential impact of Category 5 hurricane on their home using the SLDB Act to Adapt app. Students who write the best adaptation plan describing measures to make their home more resilient can win up to $10,000 towards implementation of proposed measures. When a student signs up to participate, they are doing more than entering another school competition. They are investing in the resilience of their home, wider community, and St. Lucia. Beyond the immediate opportunity of cash and other prizes, the real legacy of this competition is its power to equip students, their families, and school with the knowledge and skills necessary to embrace and carry on the climate change adaptation mantle long after the close of the DVRP. According to a Save the Children 2015 report on realizing children's right to climate change, and I quote, "Taking a child-centered approach to climate change ensures that all children are able to meaningfully participate in the adaptation process and no one is left behind." Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Lionel, for so well putting the context of the competition to us this morning. I next call on the man of the hour, Mr. Vincent Boland, the Managing Director of the SLDB. And before he comes up, I just want to say publicly that the idea of having a school competition in relation to the Climate Adaptation Financing Facility was really Mr. Boland's idea. And he has been a champion as we've worked together over the past several months to really bring the idea to fruition and develop it to what it is today. So, Mr. Boland, I want to thank you for not just being a leader at a high level, but really being a leader granular on the ground, attending several of our planning meetings for the competition. So we invite you now to give your remarks, please.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much, Angela, for that. I would like to say greetings to all the persons who are viewing online, as well as to the persons in the studio here this morning. Thank you for being here. I want to warmly welcome the Mrs. Fiona Meyer, the Chief Education Officer, Mrs. Giannetti George, the Curriculum Officer at the Ministry of Education, Miss Karen Charles, the Senior Disaster Risk Management Specialist at the World Bank, Miss Angela Barnett, our Climate Change Coordinator with the DVRP, and thank you from Ms. Tamara Lionel, the Economist at the Ministry of Economic Development. This morning is a special occasion for the St. Lucia Development Bank. We have been speaking and planning this for quite some time now. We have had a number of iterations and changes in the dates, and we are finally at the stage where we are able to bring it to the children of St. Lucia. And I want to speak directly to the children just for a minute to say that we understand your plight. We are all going through this together. We know that it's not easy. We are in a difficult time. But the grown-ups are looking out for you. Your teachers are looking out for you. Your parents, we in the business community, everyone, because you are the future for us, particularly here in St. Lucia. We want to be able to reach out to you to show that you too can make a difference. So this morning we are here to launch, which is part of the St. Lucia Development Bank's strategic plan, what we would refer to as an audacious goal, a big audacious goal. And this is to raise the awareness of the impact of the climate on all of us and to see how best we can make ourselves more resilient to survive. I have spoken for maybe a few months now, indicating to persons that we need to be able to be in a position that we can weather any event and allow it to pass and come back and continue our daily lives. We don't want it to be disrupted by damage. We don't want to have loss of life. We want to be able to be in a position that you can assess the challenges that you have. I would like to just mention that we had a launch yesterday for a renewable energy grant program that we are running with the CARICOM Development Fund. And at that, we indicated that we are seeking to become the green bank for St. Lucia, and more so for the Oecs. And that's why we welcome partnerships like this with the Oecs with us. We intend to strengthen that partnership as we go along. We have also created a partnership with the Ministry of Education, which again we intend to strengthen, to look and see which areas that training can be provided. When we think of Sir Arthur Lewis, we tend to think, okay, he put us on the map, he won a Nobel Prize, but his work really resonates in my mind. When we look at his theory of economic growth, he identified 3 causes for economic growth: economic activity, increased knowledge, and increase in capital. Today, we're taking that step. He went on to say that nature is not particularly kind to man. And when we think of his writings in the 60s and so on, he identified that. He said, it left to itself, it would overwhelm us with weeds, maybe not the kind that some people may think of, but with floods, with epidemics, and with other disasters which man wards off by taking thought and action. And today, we're moving from words to action. We want you to be able to accept this challenge. He went on to say to accept the challenge of nature is to be willing to experiment, to seek out opportunities, to respond to openings, to be able to maneuver quickly. The greatest growth occurs in societies where men have an eye to the economic chance and are willing to stir themselves to seize it. So today we're encouraging the young people to seize this opportunity, to be able to utilize your phones, to be able to go and see the app that we are about to launch this morning. It went on to say that the growth of knowledge, education is extremely important. And then the application of that education. And then he moves to training. All of these things will allow us to be able to release our productive energies, and therefore create a better economic scenario for all of us in St. Lucia. We're taking it to the children because we know that they are influential source of knowledge, and they are able to, because they are so easily, they adapt to technology, they will lead the way, they will guide their parent, they will be able to say, hold on, let me take this app and be able to assess the house and see how best we can make it more resilient. The intention is for us to be able to assess the potential impact and vulnerability. We want to be able to have persons be accessing the app from the 4th of May. The competition will run until the 4th of June. We are looking to see how best we can encourage persons to move towards accessing the app and be able to create the plan so they can create the resiliency. I recall Dr. Ralph Gonzalez came to St. Lucia a couple of years ago, and in a speech he identified that the impact of weather systems on the Caribbean and the people of the Caribbean were unprecedented in recent times. They were unwarranted, and our time for action is urgent. So he said the 3 U's is what he looked at it as. And we at the Development Bank, we are saying climate action the time is now. We want to be the catalyst so that persons will understand what it is as we move towards a green economy. We will be hearing more about that in terms of green economy and blue economies as we go forward. And as always, I always give a plug for my green affordable housing program that we are looking at. And that program is to assist persons in flood-prone areas. My phone was buzzing this morning with images of Dennery. Floods in Dennery this morning. And it wasn't a major weather system. So is it that we have to get to the stage where people are impacted before we make that move? We are saying that we need to look at how we can move to have settlements on higher ground that will allow people to be able to weather all of these storms. And that's the process we will take. So this morning, I thank you for being here. I want to be able to say, let's move forward. We are launching the app, and I would like to now ask Angela to say that we are ready to launch, and I announce that the competition is open. So I thank you very much for your attention, and may the best proposal win. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Boland. All right, thank you very much, Mr. Boland. We enjoyed the journey with you, that intellectual journey that really has practical implications for the future of St. Lucia. So thank you for that. At this moment, we want to take the opportunity to showcase to you in video form what the competition is all about. So we will share a very brief video with you that really encapsulates the competition, the prizes available. I should say that we have actually 3 competition categories, so there's an opportunity for 3 grand winners. And in addition to that, there are also second and third prizes and other prizes along the way. We also want to reward the schools that participate at the level of the school and the teachers. So we also have prizes available to schools as well as teachers associated with the winning students. I want to make that clear before we go any further in the proceedings. I also want to give a special welcome to some of the virtual audience, members in the virtual audience this morning, in particular our colleagues joining us from the World Bank. They've been a very important partner, as you'll hear, in the development of this competition. So welcome to you all from the World Bank. I also want to acknowledge several students that are actually joining us in our virtual audience this morning, including students who have participated with us by actually testing the app to make sure that it is most accessible and user-friendly for students. We want to acknowledge you for your participation and really look forward to you competing. So with no further ado, we are going to go into a very short video highlighting the competition, followed by an unveiling of the poster for the competition. Thank you.
Let's play a game, it's a competition. Make weed in your family mission. It's about home resilience and adaptation. Gather everyone around, do your best to make it fun.
Secondary school students win a $10,000 grant towards an adaptation project for your home in SLDB's Act to Adapt school competition. Winning is easy. Assess your home with SLDB's Home Risk Assessment tool. Then write a winning plan for an adaptation project to address it. How can climate impacts affect your home? Water shortage, flooding, storm damage? What can make life better? Drainage, water tank, new roof? It's pretty easy using SLDB's Home Risk Assessment tool. So do it as a family, make it really cool, and put your household on the path to resilience.
Act to adapt, download the app. Act to adapt, assess your home. Act to adapt, write a winning plan for that $10,000 to safeguard your home.
SLDB Act to Adapt school competition powered by the CAFF is open to all high school students and their households. Second, third, and school prizes are also up for grabs. To take part, download the app, competition rules and resources at www.sldb.lc and like SLDB on Facebook for other fun opportunities. Smart planning can help us cope better.
So every time I hear that video, I want to dance. And I also wish I were in secondary school all over again so I can compete. So I hope the students out there listening are just as excited as we are about this competition. So you can see on the screen now the poster for the competition. And I just want to highlight a few quick points. As I said a moment ago, we have 3 competition categories that really depend on the level of vulnerability of a particular home. And that will be determined once students complete the assessment of their home using the Act to Adapt app. So we have a high vulnerability home category, a medium vulnerability home category, as well as a low vulnerability home category. So depending on your competition category, students can win up to $10,000 to go out and actually implement the adaptation plan. We also want to highlight that this is, while a competition being implemented through the schools, this is really a competition for the entire family to get involved in. So we really want to encourage students as they're using the app to access their home to discuss the contents with their parents, ask them questions about the home, about past experiences with floods and hurricanes that might have happened long before your time. They might have a lot of information to actually help you complete the app. And also we want to make sure that whatever proposal you present is one that your parents have bought into. So when it's time to implement, they're right at your side, ready to help you implement your winning proposal. So we encourage you, first of all, to visit the website to access the app. It's listed at the bottom of the poster. Once you go there, you simply need to click, access the app, create your login, and get started with the application. I will walk you through in just a little bit a demonstration of the app so you have a better idea of how to use it. So with that said, I now want to invite Dr. Meyer to the stage. She's our Chief Education Officer, and she will deliver the remarks on behalf of the department. Just before she comes, I want to thank her in advance for the support that we've really received from the department. I know this is a very challenging time for the school system operating in a COVID environment, but despite those challenges, we've really had their support. They appreciate the importance of this competition. They see it as more than just a competition. They see it as something critical for students' development within and beyond the school curricula. So thank you so much for that support, and we look forward to your remarks.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Extend good morning to everyone. Just want to thank you on behalf of the Department of Education, Innovation and Gender Relations. Permit me to single out Mr. Boland, simply because he has been the driving force and the leadership associated with the St. Lucia Development Bank. And I have met with his colleagues together with our curriculum officer. Ms. Janetti George has been the one spearheading our engagements. Here's what, we always get the reminders, don't we? And today was such an example that from 6 o'clock in the morning, my phone was also ringing to speak to the floods in the Dennery area. There's no better reminder that we are always confronted with natural disasters. There are always issues that impact us and can change the course of our day, the course of our lifetime. And so we must appreciate and begin with the young people. What better place to start but with our secondary? And I'm hoping likewise, because it's a family activity, that our primary school children, our infants, our preschoolers will learn to appreciate that some of our actions can actually help us mitigate any risk associated with natural disasters. Likewise, they can also have detrimental impacts on our lives. So let me thank the bank for continuing to engage with us. Let me tell you, our students are best placed. They're creative, they're innovative, they work with the technology, and I can very well see them engaging with it. And here's what, students, you get to win prizes. And there's money that can actually go to a practical project to support your family and to help your home. But even beyond the prizes, I want to really speak to the awareness that we must develop in our children. And this is why I've also been a staunch supporter of letting them experience particular things, because we can only protect them so much. They must go out there, and I'm speaking specifically to adherence to COVID protocols. If they only stay home and aren't aware of what to do, how will they best support themselves? And so the awareness that we encourage, that we develop in our children, is beyond the prize money, is beyond the competition. And so this is what's most significant to me. Dear teacher colleagues, principals, administrators, parents, stakeholders, I encourage you, support our children when they say to you, I want to find out more about this. Encourage them. Listen to them, answer their questions, and support them in the development of their proposals. I want to pledge our continued support, our continued partnership with you, the St. Lucia Development Bank. Mr. Boland spoke about some of the training opportunities available through the office of our officer in charge of the Curriculum Development Unit. We remain committed to support in any way that we can. But here's our first support. Students, get out, get the app. It is a web-based app, so it doesn't matter if you're an Apple user or Android user. Go out, make the best of this opportunity to not only win a prize, but to develop your awareness And I know you will go out and find out even more information. Write those proposals and submit them so that you can really encourage others to take ownership of our own knowledge, the development of practical projects that can sustain us. So let me, on behalf of the Department of Education, Innovation and Gender Relations, in the capacity of Chief Education Officer, really extend my thanks to the Central Development Bank, the entire team, for the engagement so far as we continue to pledge our support moving forward. I thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Meyer, for that very encouraging and motivating speech. I hope with that no student leaves it undone to go to that website and start the process of the competition. So I will now do a very brief demonstration for the students and the rest of our listening audience. And I say that deliberately because while this app will be used at first instance to support the SLDB Act to Adapt School Competition, the intention is for this application to have wider applications, including being accessible by every person in St. Lucia so they can conduct an assessment on their home, and hopefully through facilities like the climate adaptation financing facilities and others actually be able to meaningfully increase the resilience of their home. So I will show a number of screens, starting with the website where you will go to access the app, and this is really going to be the home of the competition. So it's SLDB.LC/act-to-adapt. Once you're here, you'll be able to view the short video about the competition, see the competition poster, and some other resources that we will be adding over time as the competition progresses. And there's just a short summary about the competition. The important thing I want to show you is where you click to start accessing the app. So at the bottom of the screen, you'll see Get Started. Click to access the Act to Adapt app. So everybody should be taking that action by Tuesday, the 4th of May, when the competition actually goes live. So please come back to this page on Tuesday and get started. Once you've clicked on the app, it's a web app, as was just said, so it doesn't matter what type of device you use, you will be able to access the app without any issues. The first page you will see is the welcome page for the app, and you will then be taken through a very short introduction where the scenario of the Category 5 hurricane and the specifics of that scenario is presented, because that really forms the basis of how you will conduct the assessment of your home. At the end of that intro, there's a prompt for you to register for the app. This is really important. What that does is allows you to have a user account, which enables a user to automatically save their entries as they progress in the assessment and return to the application at their leisure to complete it. So it's not something that you're forced to do in one sitting. You can do it at the most convenient time to you over the span of a few days or weeks if you choose. So it's really meant to be convenient for the student as they balance their various assignments. Once you've created an account and you log into the app, you will be taken to the home page for the application. So the home page is where you can really access all of the different components of the app. I'll just do a quick scroll of the page so you see the full content. At the very top, we have a self-guided user guide. So if you're ever confused about what you need to do next, please come back to view the guide, and it will take you through the steps of completing the assessment. We also have a resource center available where we'll have a number of documents, videos, and also the ability to access experts. So we have a pool of architects, engineers, and others who are actually volunteering their time to support students as they complete their assessment and develop their proposals. So if you ever have a question, you can use the resource center to reach out to that pool of experts to get assistance. So this is the main part of the app. Here you can see the different components of the application, and I will just give you a quick overview of what each of them is about. The first thing that you want to do in the application is to complete the home profile assessment. This is where you would enter basic information about your home, such as the community in which it is located, information about the general setting, whether it's close to a river, close to the ocean, on a hillside, on a steep or a flat lot, etc. Also, information about basic characteristics about how the home is built. For example, the materials of the wall, the type of roof, the types of windows that are present, whether you have hurricane shutters or not, the types of doors, what type of material they're constructed from, the types of verandas or porches that you have, whether or not you have a car garage, and the type of arrangement in relation to how it's connected to the main house, your water supply. And you also have the ability to upload photos of the external of the home to actually support the description of the home that would have been entered. Once that is done, the student then completes 3 different hazard assessments that relate to the 3 major hazards associated with the Category 5 hurricane scenario. So these are the wind hazard assessment, the flood hazard assessment, and the water shortage hazard assessment. So I'll just give you a very quick look at what each of these assessments involve. Starting with the wind hazard assessment, you'll see that the wind hazard assessment has 4 main components. There's a section that allows you to look at the different features of your roof, the different features of your windows and doors, of your walls and foundation. And the premise here is that there are certain known features, structural features, that make a home more resilient to a Category 5 hurricane. So we basically created a very quick and easy checklist in each of these categories for students to determine whether or not, through the assessment which we help students conduct, whether or not their home have these resiliency features present. The more resiliency features you have, the more resilient your home will be overall. So once students have completed each of these assessments, and I'll just pop into the roof assessment so you can get a quick idea. In the roof assessment, we have students look at the type of the roof that is present, so the shape of the roof essentially. We have them, if they have a timber frame roof construction, tell us about the rafters and whether or not they're properly spaced and whether or not at the time of construction they were properly connected to the rest of the structure. We have you tell us more about the type of porch and veranda roof or garage roof that is present. That has a major impact on the resiliency of the overall roof structure. We look at the roof overhangs and whether or not those are within the maximum allowed to prevent uplift of the roof. We look at the roof covering installation, whether or not screws have been used as opposed to nails, a simple difference that makes a huge difference in terms of the actual resilience of the roof. We also look at the spacing of the roof fasteners, for example, nails in the case of galvanized sheets. And finally, we look at the thickness of the roof covering. So these 7 features really have a major impact on the overall resilience of the roof. So once those are assessed, the last thing a student needs to do in the roof section is to just give an indication of the condition of the roof, which also makes a significant impact on the overall resilience. So with that, I'm just going to take you back out to the other portions of the app. I'll not go through at the moment for the economy of time. Some of the other sections in the wind assessment. To give you an idea of the flood assessment section, it's a very simple approach. Here we've used the recent enough experience of the 2013 Christmas Eve trough as a basis for which students can use to determine the expected impact of a future event of a similar magnitude. So we have a series of very simple yes or no type questions that students can use to determine the level of exposure of their home to flooding based on that previous event, and also a checklist for students to indicate what type of features the home might have that might make the home more resilient to flood events. Once students have completed that, we provide them with some guidance for how they can then determine the level of impact that might be expected at the home, and we have a range from no impact up to severe impact, and we provide definitions of each of those and guidance as to how a student would make that selection. The final assessment is the water shortage hazard assessment, and essentially what this does is has a student calculate the total amount of water that a home requires to run over this 2-week period where there's no Wasco water supply as a result of the impact of the hurricane. And the student is then able to compare this calculated water demand against the storage capacity present at their home. And based on the comparison of those, they can understand and appreciate, in this scenario, will I have enough water stored at my home to meet my water needs, or will I not? And based on that, determine the degree or the extent of impact. hopefully we get some projects coming out of the results of this assessment along the lines of rainwater harvesting systems, for example, which is one of the things that the SLDB is really trying to encourage more of. So once those assessments are complete, there's a very simple household carbon footprint calculator, which essentially allows students to convert their Lucia energy bill into an understanding of the level of carbon dioxide emissions coming from their home due to their energy consumption. The very final part of the assessment is filling out the summary section, which is where the assessment all comes together. So having done the various hazard assessments, the student will come in, and for each assessment, we'll take the wind as an example, they will provide a rating for the impact coming from that hazard, whether it's high, medium, or low, based on the results already generated through the application. And they will also make an indication as to what is really driving the vulnerability to that particular hazard. Once they've done that, they will then make a short list of the adaptation measures that they would like to propose in order to reduce the vulnerabilities of the home to that particular hazard. And then finally, once students have completed the various assessments and completed the summary, they will take the exciting step of entering the competition. So this is where they will enter additional information such as the school that they attend, their form, the supporting teacher who has been in helping them with the competition, as well as upload their adaptation proposal with the various measures that they would like to implement. So again, if there are any questions along the way, we've provided an Ask an Expert option to support students in the use of the application. So with that, I would like to end the presentation of the app and call on Ms. Karen Charles from the World Bank. She's a disaster specialist at the bank, and she will give us remarks on behalf of the World Bank team. And before she comes on, I just want to again say how critical the World Bank has been in the process of developing, right from the conception, the SLDB Act to Adapt competition. We really could not have arrived at this stage without their support. In the vote of thanks, I will say a bit more about the contributions made by the bank and some of the other partners working along with the bank. But I'll allow Ms. Charles to give her remarks at this time, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Good morning. Good morning, all. On behalf of the World Bank Group, I would first like to start by commending the government of St. Lucia, Mr. Boland and the St. Lucia Development Bank, the Project Coordination Unit, and the Ministry of Education for creating this innovative Act to Adapt school competition. The World Bank is proud to be a long-term partner with the government of St. Lucia as it takes critical steps to build climate resilience. Through the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project, implemented by the Project Coordination Unit, the government is building resilient infrastructure and enhancing institutional capacity to manage climate risks. One key program is the Climate Adaptation Financing Facility, the CAFF, which is implemented through the St. Lucia Development Bank and funded by the Climate Investment Funds. For more than 3 years, the CAFF has offered affordable financing to households and businesses to help them increase their resilience to changing climate and reduce their risk before a disaster strikes. Through the CAFF, households and businesses have been able to secure roofs, harvest rainwater, stabilize slopes, and many other things to build resilience. And of the over 200 borrowers, more than 60% have been women. And with COVID-19, the CAFF was restructured to allow to support the COVID-19 economic response. There are critical actions that help to build resilience, and through the St. Lucia Development Bank's Act to Adapt school competition, students will get practical experience to better understand these actions. We thank development partners such as the Climate Investment Funds, the European Union through the ACPU NDRR program, and the Oecs Commission for their support in developing this program. We encourage students to participate, to work with their teachers and parents, and to learn more and share about building climate resilience in their homes. We wish you all the best. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Karen, for those remarks. And again, Ms. Karen Charles serves as a Senior Disaster Risk Management Specialist with the World Bank. She's also, I should say, the task team leader for the Disaster Vulnerability Reduction Project. So she is instrumental to the implementation of the DVRP, including the Climate Adaptation Financing Facility. So, Ms. Charles, thank you again so much for your ongoing support, you as well as the entire team from the World Bank, together with the other partners that you mentioned, the SAFE and the EU. So at this time, I want to call on our representative from one of our other partners, very critical to the launch of this competition. That's the Oecs Commission. When we sat down and we thought about, who are the important stakeholders to involve in this process, I think our minds naturally went to the Oecs. And that is because St. Lucia is not the only island facing the challenges of climate change. We realize that we operate within a region and we codepend. So we want to ensure that the benefits derived from this competition and from the app are ones that can be shared with our neighboring islands within the Oecs community and the wider Caribbean. So I now invite Ms. Shanna Emmanuel, Program Officer with the Environmental Sustainability Division, to deliver remarks on behalf of the Commission. Thank you, Ms. Emmanuel.
Thank you, Angela. Good morning, all. The Oecs Commission is proud to partner with the SLDB Climate Adaptation Financing Facility, or CAFF, and the broader DVRP in the launch of the Act to Adapt School Competition and Act to Adapt app. The Eastern Caribbean region, as we all know, is recognized as both a disaster hotspot and as a region that is particularly vulnerable to climate change. In the Oecs Commission, we recognize raising awareness and building local capacity to respond to climate change as an essential and long-term strategy within our island states. This novel initiative, therefore, directly aligns and supports the Commission's goal and strategy to reduce regional vulnerability and build resilient societies. If we think about it, the children really are our future. They will soon be our homeowners, business owners, and decision makers. To ensure we continue to prosper in a future defined by climate change, we must ensure that they have a practical and personal understanding of climate change impacts and opportunities and what is required to adapt on the ground, including the nuts and bolts of how to build stronger. The Oecs Commission commends the SLDB for grounding the Act to Adapt app in the standards that are contained within the Oecs Building Code, now revised to ensure resilience to up to Category 5 hurricanes. The app does a beautiful job, as we just saw Angela present, of translating technical information about buildings, perhaps previously only understood and accessible by building professionals, including engineers, architects, and contractors, into a simple, easy to digest and well illustrated format that can be readily accessed and understood by students, homeowners, and the public at large. This competition and the Act to Adapt Act therefore have a significant potential to increase local as well as regional understanding and implementation of the regional building standards contained within the Oecs Building Code. In the welcoming remarks, we were reminded of the recent Category 5 hurricanes in the Caribbean, including several islands in our Oecs sub-region. Each of these hurricanes broke records, supporting the scientific projection of how climate change is increasingly altering our experiences with hurricanes and storms. When Irma hit in 2017 with 185 per hour winds, it was the strongest hurricane to ever make landfall in the Atlantic history. Hurricane Maria intensified from a mere tropical storm to a Category 5 hurricane in less than 24 hours as it made its final approach towards Dominica, breaking records for the rate of intensification. Hurricane Dorian, if we'll remember, moved at a snail's pace, eventually stalling over the Bahamas for 40 hours, an unparalleled reality. These recent Category 5 experiences help to vividly make the case for urgent regional climate change adaptation. We must not forget, however, that our changing experiences with extreme weather as a result of climate change means that events that may have previously been perceived as minimal threats have the potential to inflict severe impacts. This morning, Mr. Boland referred to what's happening in Dennery right here this morning. But let's remember the 2013 trough, which was nothing when it started off on that day, the Christmas Eve day. And by the end, we had record flooding throughout the island. We must remember the impacts of climate change stretch beyond hurricanes into independent flood and even drought events. The Oecs Commission is therefore pleased at the clever design of the Act to Adapt app, and how it allows users to assess the impact of a Category 5 hurricane scenario using a hazard-by-hazard approach, examining the threats of winds, flood, and water shortages separately. This confers a flexible quality, allowing the app to be used for wider applications and scenarios. The Commission is also pleased to have contributed to the app itself, the Household Carbon Footprint Calculator, which has been customized for St. Lucia, and we also encourage local and regional efforts to contribute to global carbon emission reductions in order to limit the extent of climate change. What the SLDB and DVRP have embarked on through the development of this Act to Adapt competition and app is truly a remarkable initiative and serves as an innovative model and adaptation vehicle for our entire region. As such, the Commission looks forward to the Act to Adapt school competition and app being exported beyond the borders of St. Lucia and taking on a regional and perhaps even international life. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Emmanuel. We're very excited to have the OECS as a partner. We really look forward to the unlimited potential and horizons that we can take this app to with your continued partnership. So at this time, as we start to wind down the launch of the competition and the app, I would like to turn our attention to some students and how the students have been reacting to the competition and to the app, because they are really the heartbeat of all of this. Like I mentioned earlier, we've involved students from the very beginning. Before we even had an app, we sat with them to discuss the content to make sure that it was presented in such a manner that students were able to actually understand, digest, and relate to the content. And once we got to the stage of actually having a beta version of the app, we again reached out to the students and worked with them on the finalization of the design and some of the user features. So we want to share with you, as we wind down, reactions from a few students to the competition and to the app, and hopefully that spurs some further interest in all of the students out there listening to us today and who will hear about the competition in the days and weeks to come. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Malachi Davis. I'm a Form 3 student at the Viewford Comprehensive Secondary School. I think the SLDB Act to Adapt app is very informative. The user interface is very clean and simple. There is even an inbuilt dictionary, so you don't have to search for terms yourself. Overall, I think the app is great.
Hi, my name is Shemaya Foster. I'm a Form 2 student at the St. Julius Convent, and I think SLDB Act to Adapt app was really helpful to me to determine if my home was secure enough for Category 5 hurricane. I think the app was neat, user-friendly, and easy to navigate. I'm so excited to participate in this competition.
Hi, I'm Jamal Francis, President of the Institute of Architects of St. Lucia. When I first heard about the Act to Adapt school competition, I was pretty excited. I think it's a great way to get the message of resilience across. If our young people can start learning and becoming involved in resilience from early, I think our future is pretty safe.
There you have it, reactions from just 2 of our students, but I can tell you those faces represent a number of other students already excited about the competition. And I have to say, as we have presented this app at various workshops, including teachers' workshops, I can already begin to feel the excitement. One teacher said to us in a recent workshop, I'm actually in the process of constructing my home, and the content of this app is really helpful for me as I build to be sure that I make sure I consider all of the key things to make my home resilient. So we're excited about the impact that this will have beyond the life of this competition. So I would like to thank everybody, our virtual audience, for being with us for the duration of this exciting launch this morning. And before I close the program out, I want to just take a moment for you to hear some of the support and the persons and organizations who really contributed to making this competition possible. It was certainly not a sole effort of the SLDB, although we've had great leadership by the bank, but it was really the combined effort of several partners that made the competition possible. So first and foremost, we want to thank, on behalf of the SLDB, the Department of Education. I think without their support, we would have been dead in the water, so to speak. There would have been no competition, especially in this current COVID-19 environment. So thank you so much to the Department of Education. And hand in hand with that, I really do have to thank the department responsible for the administration of the DVRP, the Department of Economic Development, Transport and Civil Aviation. From the level of the PS down, we've had full support, and again, without that support, we would not have been able to partner as a project with the SLDB to bring this to life. I also want to thank all of the teachers and students who have participated long before the launch today in making this competition what it is. Like I said, we've gone through multiple rounds of testing with students, and we've also had now 2 workshops with teachers to make sure that they are fully on board and capable of supporting the students through the process of the assessment and developing the proposals. We've heard this morning from Ms. Karen Charles, representative of the World Bank, and she's mentioned briefly some of the support that we've received, but I want to pause again just to really highlight it, because without that support, I think this would have still been maybe just an idea on the table. So I want to say that the World Bank, having heard this idea, they really rallied with us to see how we could pull together all of the resources necessary to bring the competition to life. So in particular, they reached out to partners at the EU. I want to make sure I mention the specific program correctly. So through the EU's Africa, Caribbean, Pacific European Union Natural Disaster Risk Reduction Program, we were actually able to receive grant funds, which went specifically to developing the Act to Adapt app, as well as supporting a number of persons who have been really engaged in working with us to bring this to life. So I want to point out some persons in particular. That video, again, that always makes me dance, the video highlighting the competition. I'm really proud to say that we had a very young and upcoming local artist by the name of Joelle Paul developing the song, the jingle that forms the basis of that video. And you might have recognized the talent in terms of the graphic work and video production there, as again, one of St. Lucia's very own and well-renowned video producers, Ted Sandiford. So I want to thank him for his creativity and time and contributions to the competition, as well as Barbara Jacob-Small, who has been our very dedicated marketing consultant for the competition. In thanking her, I want to also point out in particular Kerry Cox, who's with the World Bank and has been supporting us in the communications and marketing arena hand in hand with Barbara. He prefers to go unnamed, so I will respect that, but I cannot do without mentioning our app developer. I think he had no idea what he was getting himself into when he signed up for this job. We spent many sleepless nights together on video calls and various online platforms, just walking through all of the details of the app. So I really want to give him his due recognition here this morning. And again, all of these consultants have been supported with the grants funding that we received through that European Union program. The prizes that will be given through the competition, they're coming through the Climate Adaptation Financing Facility, and that facility is fully funded through the Climate Investment Funds. So we want to thank also the Climate Investment Funds, the CIF, for really powering the CAFF and by extension powering the prizes for this competition. I also want to make special mention of the other partners that have really brought this competition to life. Again, the OECS, and we're looking forward to their future partnership in terms of making this something of wider application, and also their support in really making sure that all of St. Lucia knows about this competition. And I also want to make special mention of two associations, both the Engineers Association and the Institute of Architects in St. Lucia. Their support has been tremendous. From the beginning, we reached out to the Engineers Association, and they were so excited about the idea of breaking down this information, this type of information, and bringing it to the average person, the average household. And we've had equal excitement and support from the Institute of Architects. In fact, you just saw a video from the president of the association, and I can see now that he's worked with us to do an instructional video to walk students in a very practical way through the wind hazard assessment portion of the app to make it very, very easy for students to follow. So I want to thank those associations by name, and I also want to call out Joe Lindbergh, who's the president of the Engineers Association, for his tremendous support. And there are a number of engineers who assisted him with providing us feedback. While I'm thinking of that, I want to go back to the World Bank quickly to just mention that in addition to the support already indicated, they also offered technical support in the development of the application in the person of several engineers that work with the bank. They reviewed the content to help us make sure that it is as sound, as accurate as possible to ultimately result in the best resilience possible for St. Lucia. And going back just once more, thinking about the Department of Education, I think her name was mentioned already in the program, but I specifically want to call out Ms. George, who has been really the dedicated point of contact at the department. She's helped us coordinate the engagement of the students and the teachers as we work toward this competition. Mr. Boland, I'm sure you'll give a special thanks to the persons on your team, but I just want to give some faces to the persons behind the scene as well. So Diane Francois, the CAF officer at the SLDB, along with Mr. Philbert Francis, they have worked tirelessly and remain behind the scenes this morning, but I want to make sure that they're brought to the fore in our thanks. And without the technical support of the GIS this morning, we could not have had such a wonderfully produced and exciting launch event. So I want to fully thank the leadership and the support team at the GIS for facilitating us this morning. So with that said, I want to thank you again for being in our audience. Without you, there would have been no launch. So thank you so much for spending the time with us. Please go to the website, access the app, check out the competition. Even if you're not a secondary school student, use the app, start doing the assessment on your home. If you know somebody in secondary school, mention the competition, encourage those who might be your neighbors, etc., to enter. This is really something for the benefit of St. Lucia. So thank you so much, and we look forward to a very successful Act to Adapt school competition. Thank you.
Let's play a game, it's a competition. Make win in your family mission. It's about home resilience and adaptation. Gather everyone around, do your best to make it fun.
Secondary school students win a $10,000 grant towards an adaptation project for your home in SLDB's Act to Adapt school competition. Winning is easy. Assess your home with SLDB's home risk assessment tool. Then write a winning plan for an adaptation project to address it. How can climate impacts affect your home? Water shortage, flooding, storm damage? What can make life better? Drainage, water tank, new roof? It's pretty easy using SLDB's home risk assessment tool. So do it as a family, make it really cool, and put your household on the path to resilience.
Act to adapt. Download the app, act to adapt. Assess your home, act to adapt. Write a winning plan for that $10,000 to safeguard your home.
SLDB Act to Adopt School Competition, powered by the CAFF, is open to all high school students and their households. Second, third, and school prizes are also up for grabs. To take part, download the app, competition rules and resources at www.sldb.lc, and like SLDB on Facebook for other fun opportunities. Smart planning can help us cope better.